So how do we send data from the front end to the back end when the user fills out a form? We've captured our user's form, or the information in their form in a previous video. We know that a form can send user data using two primary methods, the get and the post. When you navigate to a browser, or a site, your browser sends something called a request object to the site you're going to, and it tells that site what you're doing there and who you are. And so a request object has two main parts. It has the header and the body. Now the head is where we put the information about who we are and what we're doing at that site. The body is where we put the data we need to send to that site. So let's set up a request object. To do this, we need to use an XHR request object. XHR stands for XML Http Request. It's basically three practices combined into one. So XML is a scripting language just like HTML, except with XML you can define your own tags. HTTP is of course the rule set that governs how information gets transferred over the internet, how data should be sent from client to server and server to client. Now the request just refers to the request object we're sending to the site we're visiting. Now there are 5 steps to creating and using a request object. We create a new request object, we open the request object, we set the headers for the object, and then we create a function to handle the response from the site we're visiting and load that into the request object, and then finally we send that request object. So let's go step by step. So right here we have this page on the right, generated by this code on the left right here. When the user hits submit, we have an event listener looking for the submit event. It runs the handle form submit function, which prevents the default behavior of the page, which is to refresh. All right, so step 1, we're going to create the request object. We're going to call it XHR. We're going to say new XML Http request. XML Http request. Step 2, we have to open it with the URL and the method type. So we're just going to say something like xhr.open with a get, and the URL we're going to use is called http://http:/bin.org, and the route is get. Now this site just allows us to send information to it, and then it sends that information right back to us so that we can test whether or not our get and our post methods are working. So of course we're using the get method here, and get sends the data in a key value pair in the URL. So we need to give that into the URL here. So the question mark says a URL, and then we're going to append a query string that we haven't created yet. We're about to create it. So all the query string is the key value pairs. Now to create it, I know in the last video we used JavaScript to capture the nodes. In this one, since all we're doing is capturing these two guys here, and it's simple data, we're going to use a setup like this. I'll show you. So let query string equal new URL search params, and we're going to give it the form data. So the form data is a class that we can use to grab all of these key value pairs and just put it in an object for us. And the URL search params converts that object to another object, and then we have to cast it into a string. Let me show you. .toString. Just like that. So instead of capturing every single node and then doing it, because the information, the data is so easy, so simple, we just use this thing here. New form data, we're going to pass in not the user, it should be user form. And then URL search params converts that form into another object, and then we cast that object into a string. So let me show you what we get. Let's say console.log query string, like that. We don't need this guy right now. So let's do this. Look on the console on the right, rex555. This is what the query string gives us. An exact query string. Username, key, equals value rex, and then the ampersands for separating key value pairs. And so now we can append that to the URL right here, query string. And so step 3 was setting the request headers. So we're going to tell the site what we're doing there. It should be step 2 right here. We do it like this, xhr.set request headers, and we're going to tell it that the content type we're sending is plain text, like that, plain text. Now step 4 was create that function that handles the response. We'll call it function handle response. Function handle response, like that. And we're going to check for a ready state. All a ready state is that this request object we're building has different states. I think it's 1 through 4 or 0 through 4. These states indicate where it is in terms of its progress, being built, being sent, and being a request or a response being sent back. So once it's sent back, the response from the site, the ready state will be 4. We also need to check the status code. Status code, you know what a status code is because you've seen status codes 404. So 200 means everything went smoothly. 404, as you know, means there's no page not found. So we're looking for a 200. So when the site sends a response back and we get a status 200, meaning everything went A-OK, we're just going to do this. We're going to let response equal JSON. We're going to parse the data that they send back. All this JSON parse thing does is it converts their response into an object, a JavaScript object that we can work with. I'll show you when we actually show it. There we go. And now we have to load this function into XHR like this. So we'll do an XHR.onReadyStateChange is equal to handle response. Just like that. And finally, step 5 is we send it. Step 5 is we send the XHR request to the URL up here, http://bin.org/get. We just say xhr.send like that. Now, when we check rex on the right here, we say rex and we go 555. Let's see what we get from the server. And that's the response we got. So we send a request object. The server we're sending that to sends a response object back. And that response object is an object with key value pairs. And their key args have our key value pairs here. Pin number 555 and username rex. This is how we know it's sent back properly. And up here, this is the full string that we sent. We can do something cool like this. We can just throw it up in the URL like this. The exact same URL, because it's get, it allows us to send key value pairs in the URL. And so those are our arguments right there. And this is the response object from the site. Now, how do we do the same thing with post? Of course, we can't set post in the URL. It sends in the body of the request object. So how do we do that? And so in order to send this with post, we need our data in a different type. The string won't do. So we need to convert our data, our string, into an object. So let me show you what I mean. So currently our string, our data from the user looks like, we'll throw it here, looks like this, like that. All right, it looks like this here. This is our data that we're sending using post. We need this data to look like this. Username, rex, and pin number 555. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert this string into an array. I'm going to loop through that array and then create this object. So I'm going to write the code and then I'll explain it after. All right, so what did I do? So I used the string method replace, and I replaced all of these equal signs and these ampersands with commas. Now, why did I do that? Because a string has a method called split that uses some sort of delimiter, some sort of character to create an array out of it. Now, after I created that array, I looped through the array, and I created a form data package object here, blank, and I just entered in the data. Let me show you what it looks like in each step. So console.log query string. We'll log that there, we'll log that there, we'll log that there, and then we'll log the form data here. Console.log form data package. So check out how the data got transformed. So same thing, we'll say rex and we'll say 555, submit, and let's go through it step by step. So initially, this is our key value pair query string. It is type string right here. I replaced the equal signs, the ampersands with the commas, because when you use a split, it needs something consistent between each value in order to create this array here. Username, rex, pin number, and 555. And I looped through this array, and I created this, username, rex, pin number 5. Now I had to use I plus is equal to 2, because if I said I plus plus, which is 1, it would go to username, create a key out of this, Go to Rex, create a key out of that. Go to pin number, create a key out of that. And 555, create a key out of that. I wanted to create a key out of every second one, and every other second one, I wanted to create a value. So that's why it's I plus equals 2 like that. So now we have the data in an object. How do we send that data using our XHR object? So we need to change a few things. So step 1 is still okay. We create the XHR object. Step 2, we need to open with a different URL and different method here. So this should be post. The route right now to that page is post, and we don't need the query string because we're using post. So that's step 2. Step 3 is we have to tell the page we're going to what content type we're delivering. It's not just text now, it's called JSON. If you know what JSON is, I'll be doing a video on it. Basically an object, a JavaScript object, written in a specific way. And so step 3 is done. We tell the site we're delivering a JavaScript object. Step 4 could be the same. We're just handling the response. And step 5, we send the data here. And we just send it like this, form data package. All right, so let's go ahead and see if we get the proper response from this guy. So say Rex, we'll go 555, we'll submit. And that's the response. Now notice the args. When we said the get, we had args here. This is where they put the query string. Since we didn't send a get or query string, we don't get anything back. This is the data we sent. Now it's registering as object because we didn't parse it properly. So just like up here, when we said json.parse, the text, we didn't send it properly to them. So we got it back from them properly, but we didn't send it properly to them. So json.stringify. So this creates a JSON object out of the form data. Form data like that. And now when we send it, Rex 555, submit, and we check the data is displayed like that. Username Rex, pin number 555. And so that's how we use XHR object to send data from the front end to the back end. We create the XHR object, we open it up with the appropriate string and the method. We set the request header, which tells the site we're going to what we're sending there. We create a function to handle the response. We load the response into the object. And then finally, we send that object. So if this video helped you at all, don't forget to give a like, share, comment down below any comments, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. And I will see you guys in the next video.